Hello there. In the last video in this series, I went over perspective, and as far as that being our main goal of shifting a dog's perspective so that it matches our own. And at the end of that video, I alluded to two components that are going to be needed for us to be able to make this shift. One was communication and the other was structure. Well, in this video, I want to give you a brief introduction into what is involved on the communication side of things. So, within that branch, we have a couple of branches. We have a teaching and learning branch and understanding what communication means for a dog. On the teaching and learning branch, we are going to be controlling dogs' repetitions, being aware and in control of context so that we can drive associations. Repetition, that's the experience that dogs are getting. Anytime they have access to do anything, that is a repetition. And we want to be in control of repetitions so that we can drive what they learn from each set of repetition. Context, that's the thing that gets linked to the repetition. It can sometimes be direct to the repetition itself, direct to the understanding that we want to create, but sometimes it can be indirect. It can be sometimes irrational, at least from our human perspective, but to a dog it matters. If one thing is different, everything is different. And then association, that is the understanding that comes from the other two components. So a quick little example is dogs getting on the couch. Every time they get on the couch or even just around the couch and maybe have the thought about getting on the couch, that's essentially a repetition. The couch itself is a context, and then their repetitions of this context can drive the association and understanding of they are either allowed on the couch or they're not. And then sometimes that association could have a little bit more detail, as in they think that they're technically allowed on the couch, even though maybe you're trying to teach them otherwise. But what they're really understanding is they're allowed on the couch. You just freak out every time that they happen to get on the couch, so they stop doing it when you're around, but there's nothing wrong with it while you're not there. So that is how they think and how they learn, through repetition, concerning various contexts. And if we can control these two components, then we can actually drive the association, drive the understanding of what comes after. That is essentially how we can shift the perspective. But our involvement to be able to drive that association involves the communication itself. So what does communication mean to a dog? Whenever owners are trying to tell their dogs to do something or to not do something, dogs are essentially looking at three different aspects of that communication in order to figure out the message. And if just one of those three things are misaligned from the purpose, the intent of the message, then they might be misunderstanding them. And typically the way humans communicate with each other, which is very often what I see how they communicate with their dogs, at least two of those three things tend to be misaligned from the intent of the message, which means chances are skyrocketing dogs don't really know what their owners are talking about at any given moment. These three things that dogs are looking for are physical communication, which could be hand signs for the commands that you use, not saying the commands but showing them the commands. It could be your body posture and position. It could be physical contact as far as scratches behind the ear, belly rubs, or using the leash to direct them one way or another. The second thing that dogs are looking for is energy. How you carry yourself as you are utilizing your physical communication. It could be your confidence in how you're doing what you're doing. It could be your lack of confidence in what you're doing. It could be that you're overexcited or you're too boring about it. Quite commonly, too boring for the environment that you're in. So making adjustments to yourself as to how you interact with your dog, essentially still in the physical side of things, but the feel of how you do it, that can really send a different message, a better message or a worse message, especially if we tend to get frustrated and angry with our dogs. The third thing that dogs are looking for, and I would say this one's a distant third. We got physical, we have energy, and the third one is down here, that is auditory communication. The sounds you make essentially mean nothing to a dog right off the bat. Humans, when we communicate with their dogs, what I see is usually the opposite. We're so keyed on auditory, we care about words, not just sounds, but words. And so saying the word louder, saying the word more angrily, sometimes we think that gets the point across. Well, not really. We're just making different sounds, which drives more confusion. And usually humans, we're so bad at these two, the physical and the energy, that they contradict what we're actually trying to tell our dogs, which is why I typically see dogs doing the opposite of what their owners are talking about. So, to simplify it, show more and say less. Work this way as opposed to this way. This is easy for us. We got to go the other way. And don't say that much. Think more caveman and do more. And make sure we're not getting frustrated about how we're feeling about it either. That is what communication means to a dog. Again, to put very simply. So understanding how we can teach them through creating associations from repetition and context, and understanding what communication means to them, we can start to create a true source of communication, or true means of communication. You've already been seeing this as I'm working with some of the other dogs. going through the obedience, doing things like sitting down and heel. But you also may have heard me say 4 other sounds. Yes, good, and no. Yes is that's the right choice. No is that's the wrong choice. Good, you're on the right track. Keep on doing it. Maybe the yes is going to come pretty quick or a little bit later. Is you're on the wrong track. You haven't crossed that line that deserves the no, but you're on your way there. So it's a warning. And if they change, good. And then that might lead to the yes. These 4 sounds are what we can use if the dog understands them, basically to make this understanding. We're doing repetition of each of these sounds, being the context themselves, to drive the association of the definitions I just gave you. And that's how we can communicate and create other associations in other areas. But again, that is just a very simplified way of understanding it. If you would like a deeper understanding of how all of this comes together, how it starts to get created, or at least what it means in the dog, through their psychology, be on the lookout for a mini course that we are going to be putting together. There will be a link down in the description when it's ready, and if you're watching this in the future, then it's right there. Be sure to follow that link and we can go into a lot more depth as to what's involved. I hope you enjoyed the simple understanding of what communication means to a dog and how we can communicate with them. If you did, please hit the like button. If you've got any questions about anything, leave them down in the comments, and be sure to subscribe so you can follow the rest of this foundation series, as well as keep up with us and all the dogs coming our way, but also to be on the lookout if you're watching this relatively recently to the recording of this video as to when that mini course is actually going to be available to you. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time.